Yeah, they've changed their mind. They've changed their mind, Richard, because they realise they're not making the money. They're hated in Hollywood. They're not even invited to the Oscars or the Emmys. So King Charles has to wake up, okay? Because the idea that Harry and Meghan are coming back here just to be private citizens is delusional. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle were to Megxit the most unhappy royal homecoming in history. Yes, they are on their way back, folks. The dastardly duo, the fake Duke and Duchess, have tonight confirmed a return to the United Kingdom. They informed King Charles on Sunday.
Prince William has just dropped a massive, devastating bombshell that is sending violent shockwaves through the gates of Buckingham Palace, officially turning Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's desperate, secret plot for a UK return into an absolute, unmitigated disaster. Could this be the final fatal nail in the coffin for the Montecito duo? Or did they honestly believe they could just waltz back into London after torching every single bridge behind them? For weeks, the international media has been buzzing with wild, leaked reports that the fake Duke and Duchess were quietly packing up their California mansion, scrambling to escape their crumbling Hollywood empire, and plotting a permanent move back to British soil under the guise of enrolling Archie and Lilibet in elite private schools. But while a frail King Charles was reportedly left completely paralyzed by the news, caught between his soft heart as a father and the crushing weight of the crown, Prince William did not hesitate for a single second. Insiders confirm the Prince of Wales has officially stepped into the arena, unleashing a brutal, uncompromising ultimatum that has left the entire royal institution utterly stunned. William isn't just closing the palace doors. He is tearing up the blueprint, exposing the shocking, desperate truth behind why Harry and Meghan are suddenly running back home, and making it crystal clear that under no circumstances will this toxic circus ever set foot on royal grounds again. The absolute audacity of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle planning a sudden, permanent move back to the United Kingdom is perhaps the most shameless chapter in modern royal history, and Prince William has officially had enough. To fully understand why the Prince of Wales is currently boiling with absolute rage behind the closed doors of Kensington Palace, we have to trace this unbelievable mess right back to the moment the Sussexes decided to burn down their own house for a quick buck. 6 long years ago, these two stood on a global stage, pointed their fingers at the entire British nation, and effectively labeled the country, the institution, and the people inherently toxic and racist. They claimed the press was hunting them. They claimed the palace was a gilded prison. And they swore on national television that their mental health was being systematically dismantled by the very family that handed them a $30 million fairy tale wedding. So what did they do? They packed up their designer luggage, grabbed their royal titles like commercial luggage tags, and bolted across the Atlantic to California, promising the world that they were going to build a high-minded, progressive, independent empire of compassion. Fast forward to right now, and the entire Hollywood dream has completely dissolved into an embarrassing puddle of unpaid bills, canceled deals, and utter public humiliation. Naturally, instead of taking accountability for their abysmal failure, their brilliant strategic response is to suddenly announce that they are moving back to Britain, booking moving vans, and securing elite school slots for Archie and Lilibet at the end of this very month. The narrative they are desperately trying to spin to friendly media outlets in America is that this is a noble, heartwarming homecoming, a sudden desire for their children to have traditional British roots, and for a sick grandfather to spend quality time with his lineage. But nobody with half a brain cell is buying that garbage for a single second, least of all Prince William. What we are witnessing right now is not a family reunion. It is a desperate, frantic retreat by two commercial grifters who have completely run out of options, run out of content, and run out of money. For 6 years, their entire business model relied on one single product: selling out the royal family. They sold it to Oprah in a primetime sob story. They sold it to Netflix in a grueling 6-hour docuseries of dramatic sighs and curtsy mockeries. And Harry sold every private detail of his brother's life in a tell-all book that made him the laughingstock of the publishing world. But you can only sell your grandmother's crown once, and once the vault is empty, people stop buying. The brutal reality hitting Montecito right now is that without the constant friction and controversy with Buckingham Palace, Harry and Meghan are just two middle-aged celebrities living in an absurdly expensive house with zero actual talent to offer the entertainment industry. When the Hollywood elite finally woke up to the fact that the Sussexes were all hype and no substance, the velvet ropes were pulled back, the party invitations mysteriously dried up, and the big money deals began snapping like twigs. Their multi-million-dollar podcast arrangement ended with executives publicly branding them as lazy grifters. Their Netflix content slate stalled into absolute irrelevance, and Meghan's grand lifestyle brand devolved into sending jars of jam to minor influencers who didn't even bother to post them on Instagram. The cash burn rate in California was astronomical. Between round-the-clock private security details, public relations firms hired to clean up their daily blunders, and the massive mortgage on a celebrity estate they could no longer afford. Faced with complete financial bankruptcy and total social isolation in America, they realized that the only thing that ever made them interesting, valuable, or relevant was their physical and operational connection to the British royal family. And so the grand plan was hatched. Manipulate a vulnerable, recovering king, bypass the furious Prince of Wales, and force their way back onto UK soil before the door slams shut forever. The sheer mechanics of how this secret return was executed behind the scenes exposes the manipulative, calculating nature of the Sussex operation at its absolute worst. Insiders reveal that Prince Harry didn't sit down with his family like a civilized adult to discuss a potential return, nor did he consult the government or senior palace officials who have to deal with the security and diplomatic fallout of such a move. Instead, Harry dropped the ultimate bomb during a brief, sudden telephone call to King Charles on a Sunday evening, catching the monarch completely off guard while he was undergoing ongoing medical treatments. Harry essentially presented his father with a fait accompli, casually informing him that the moving trucks were already booked, the security plans were being drawn up, and the kids were being enrolled in British schools in just a matter of days. The strategy was devious, cold, and calculated. Play on the emotions of an aging, sick father who desperately wants to see his grandchildren, force him into a weak verbal consent, and then immediately leak the story to establishment British newspapers to make it impossible for the palace to back out without looking heartless. When the news landed like a grenade across Fleet Street late on a Wednesday night, the entire country went into absolute meltdown. By midnight, the media landscape was ablaze, with royal experts, political commentators, and the general public reacting with pure, unadulterated outrage. The verdict across the nation was unanimous within an hour. Absolute horror. People were openly asking the same exact question on morning radio and TV shows. How dare they? How dare these two individuals, who spent 6 years trashing Britain as a ghastly, backward, racist country, suddenly decide to crawl back the second their American bank accounts went into the red? But while the media was busy processing the shock, the reaction inside Kensington Palace was infinitely more severe. Prince William did not just get angry, he went absolutely nuclear. William was not consulted about the Sunday phone call, he was not warned about the impending leak, and he was expected to just sit quietly by while his brother ambushed their father and moved a walking PR disaster right back into his backyard. For William, this isn't just a petty sibling rivalry anymore. This is an existential threat to the safety of his wife, the stability of his children, and the very future of the monarchy he is destined to inherit. Catherine, the Princess of Wales, has spent the past year quietly and bravely battling severe health issues, enduring emotional distress that no person should ever have to go through, all while continuing to serve the nation with unimaginable dignity. The thought of moving Harry and Meghan into a house on the Windsor estate, just a stone's throw away from Adelaide Cottage, is viewed by William as an intolerable act of psychological warfare. William remembers every single line from Harry's book, every jab from the Netflix show, every leak to American magazines, and the torrent of online abuse that was unleashed upon Catherine as a direct result of the Sussex smear campaign. He knows that having Harry and Meghan living next door doesn't mean having a brother back. It means introducing a permanent, unpredictable weather system of leaks, paparazzi setups, and calculated drama right into his family's private sanctuary. What makes this situation even more dangerous and volatile is the total breakdown of trust within the palace walls, creating a nightmare scenario where two rival courts could soon be operating in the exact same country under a single crown. Expert analysts and veteran royal correspondents are already warning that if Harry and Meghan are permitted to establish a permanent residence in Windsor, it will inevitably trigger a constitutional crisis the likes of which Britain hasn't seen since the abdication of Edward VIII 90 years ago. Imagine the total chaos. Prince William and Catherine carrying out official, dignified duties for the state, while right down the road, Harry and Meghan are staging calculated, camera-ready charity pop-ups, calling in friendly photographers, and trying to steal the headlines every single time the Waleses have a major engagement. It is a hostile takeover strategy disguised as a family homecoming, and William sees right through every single layer of it. Reports from senior palace sources indicate that William has flatly refused to play along with the narrative that everything is fine. He is reportedly boiling with rage at the palace advisors who allowed King Charles to be cornered into giving a soft, non-committal response to Harry's phone call. The palace's official, paper-thin response, stating that His Majesty looks forward to seeing his family in a private capacity, was a pathetic attempt to mask the fact that the king was handed a gun to his head and tried to pretend he picked it out himself. Charles is a decent man, a loving father, and a deeply empathetic human being, but as the reigning monarch, his first duty is to the integrity of the crown, not the personal financial bailout of his youngest son. By failing to immediately shut the door on Harry's manipulative scheme, Charles has accidentally placed his heir, Prince William, in an impossible position. William is now forced to act as the bad cop, the enforcer, the iron fist of the family, because he knows that if someone doesn't take a stand right now, the entire institution will be completely hollowed out from the inside. The Prince of Wales understands a fundamental truth that seems to have escaped his father. You cannot compromise with people who have proven time and time again that they will record your private conversations, print your personal texts, and sell your family secrets to the highest bidder the moment they need a fresh news cycle. Harry's entire life over the past 6 years has been a masterclass in betrayal, and William is determined to make sure that the damage stops right here, right now, before the entire royal legacy is permanently ruined. The absolute desperation behind this sudden relocation becomes glaringly obvious the moment you take a hard look at the financial wreckage Harry and Meghan are leaving behind in California. When they first landed in the United States, they were treated like international royalty combined with Hollywood A-listers, with every major studio, tech giant, and talent agency scrambling to sign them for staggering sums of money. Speaking agencies put Harry on their roster at a mind-boggling $1 million per speech, framing him as a global thought leader on mental health and humanitarian efforts. But fast forward to the reality of recent months, and those million-dollar speeches have collapsed into embarrassing $50,000 gigs at obscure corporate summits in Washington, with the phone ringing less and less every single week. The corporate sponsors who initially threw bags of money at them quickly realized that once you strip away the royal dust, neither Harry nor Meghan possesses the work ethic, creativity, or business acumen required to sustain a major production company or global brand. Studio executives quietly leak stories about their frustration over proposed projects that were either completely unworkable, bizarrely self-indulgent, or blatantly derivative of existing shows. Meghan's highly publicized Netflix lifestyle show, which was supposed to position her as the ultimate domestic goddess selling high-end kitchenware and organic spreads, turned into a total disaster before it even hit screens, with reports emerging that retail partners pulled out and streaming bosses lost complete faith in the project's ability to pull in numbers. The brutal truth is that their entire American dream didn't just stumble. It suffered total organ failure. They bought a $16 million mega mansion in Montecito with 16 bathrooms, massive grounds, and an army of security guards, believing that the money would keep rolling in forever. But when the multi-million-dollar Spotify contract was abruptly severed and Netflix made it abundantly clear that they were not renewing their massive first-look deal once it expired, the financial panic set in fast. The math simply didn't work anymore. You cannot maintain a multi-million-dollar annual security detail and a Hollywood billionaire lifestyle on a handful of dwindling speaking engagements and jam sales. They realized with absolute terror that their commercial value in America was entirely dependent on their royal titles, and those titles were rapidly losing their sparkle in the eyes of the public because they were sitting thousands of miles away in California doing nothing of actual value. So what was the backup plan? Simple. Pack up, move back to England, position themselves back on the doorstep of the monarchy, and hope to God that physical proximity to the royal family magically restores their status, brings back the paparazzi photo ops, and forces the British taxpayer or the king's personal estate to pick up the tab for their security and housing. This isn't just a financial crisis for the Sussexes. It is a full-blown brand identity meltdown that has made them an absolute laughingstock on both sides of the Atlantic. For 6 straight years, Meghan Markle's entire pitch to the world was that she was a fierce, independent, self-made California entrepreneur who was simply too big, too modern, and too enlightened to be contained by the dusty, archaic, patriarchal walls of the British monarchy. She sold herself as the ultimate West Coast icon. Edible flowers, sunshine, mindfulness, and female empowerment. So how on earth do you spin moving back to a rainy, wet county in England, living in a rented house on a royal estate, and selling jam online to make rent? You don't. It is the ultimate public repossession of every single value, promise, and brand statement she has uttered since 2018. The independent woman who supposedly walked away from the throne because it was a toxic prison is now slinking back to that very same prison because Hollywood chewed her up, spit her out, and left her with nothing. American commentators and media personalities who used to defend the couple have completely turned on them, openly mocking their hypocrisy and pointing out that nobody in Los Angeles gives a damn about D-list royals who have nothing left to offer but ancient complaints. Prominent host Meghan Kelly publicly blasted them, declaring that America has done its time with the grifters and wishing the UK good luck, because they are Britain's problem now. Media outlets across the US are openly running pieces stating that the Sussexes failed to hack it in the biggest entertainment market in the world, proving that without the royal crutch, they are completely ordinary, talentless public figures. And the irony of their return to Britain is so thick you could cut it with a knife. After claiming for years that the UK press was an abusive mob, and that the British public was hopelessly hostile, they are now flying directly back into the lion's den because they have nowhere else to go. But if they think the British public is going to give them a warm, forgiving welcome, they are living in a total fantasy world. The mood in the country has hardened into absolute ice. Poll after poll conducted since the news broke shows that nearly 90% of respondents want them kept as far away from the royal family as humanly possible. People haven't forgotten the insults, they haven't forgotten the disrespect shown to the late Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip in their final months, and they certainly haven't forgotten the relentless attacks on Prince William and Catherine. The timing of this forced return is perhaps the most sinister aspect of the entire plot, and it revolves around a terrifying countdown clock that Prince Harry is acutely aware of. Insiders who have studied the internal power dynamics of the royal family for decades point out that Harry knows his window of opportunity to manipulate the monarchy is rapidly closing forever. Right now, King Charles is on the throne, a father who is naturally soft-hearted, dealing with serious health battles, and carrying an understandable emotional longing to see his grandchildren before his time is up. Harry knows that Charles is susceptible to emotional leverage, which is precisely why he pushed this sudden move right now, catching his father at his most vulnerable moment. But Harry also knows what is coming just down the road: the reign of King William. The moment King Charles passes away or decides to step down, Prince William takes the crown, and the game is permanently over for the Sussexes. William will not hesitate for a single microsecond. The day William becomes king, the HRH titles disappear, the Sussex titles are stripped, the security access is revoked, and any remaining ties to the estate are permanently severed with absolute, cold efficiency. Furthermore, Prince George is growing up rapidly. In just about 5 years, George will reach his adulthood and step into his full role as the immediate heir to the throne, drawing all global media attention and official status to the next generation. Once George, Charlotte, and Louis step into their full roles, Prince Harry becomes completely irrelevant to the line of succession and the future of the nation. He becomes the modern equivalent of Prince Andrew or the Duke of Windsor, a forgotten bitter spare sitting on the sidelines of history. Harry knows that right now under Charles is his very last chance to wedge himself back into the system, establish a physical presence on royal soil, and lock in housing, security, and institutional status for his children before William takes total control. This is why the move was so sudden, so abrupt, and so aggressive. It wasn't a thought-out family transition. It was a desperate race against time to beat the clock before King William slams the iron door shut. But Harry severely underestimated his brother's resolve. William is not sitting back and waiting for his reign to take action. He is stepping up right now, asserting his authority as the future king, and making it crystal clear to everyone inside and outside the palace that he will not allow his father's kindness to be weaponized against the future of the crown. The sheer disrespect shown to the memory of the late Queen Elizabeth II in this entire saga is something that Prince William simply cannot forgive. When Harry and Meghan made their infamous exit at the Sandringham Summit in 2020, Queen Elizabeth laid down strict, uncompromising parameters to protect the dignity of the monarchy. She explicitly ruled that the couple could not use their royal status, titles, or official positions for commercial gain while living abroad. That agreement was drawn up in absolute good faith by a monarch who spent 70 years sacrificing her personal feelings for the duty of the state. But the moment the late Queen was laid to rest, Harry and Meghan ripped up that agreement, spat on her legacy, and proceeded to monetize every single private memory, conversation, and royal connection they possessed. Now that the monarch who enforced those rules is no longer here to defend her legacy, they believe they can just stroll back to Windsor and pretend the whole thing never happened. Royal experts like Tom Sykes have openly pointed out that there is zero chance the late Queen would have allowed this chaotic return for a single second. She understood that a divided royal family, running two competing courts in the same country, would destabilize the entire constitutional architecture of the United Kingdom. William shares his grandmother's unshakable devotion to duty and order, and he views Harry's behavior as an absolute betrayal of everything Queen Elizabeth built over her extraordinary reign. William is boiling with rage because he sees his brother taking full advantage of their father's illness and their grandmother's absence to force a deal that destroys the very foundation of the institution. Reports from within Fleet Street suggest that senior palace officials are having sleepless nights over the horrifying prospect of what happens when major national events roll around. What happens on Remembrance Sunday when Prince William stands at the cenotaph to lay a wreath for the nation's fallen soldiers, while Prince Harry attempts to host his own rival event down the road with a hired camera crew? What happens at Christmas when the royal family walks to church at Sandringham in front of thousands of well-wishers, while Harry and Meghan leak stories to American tabloids about being excluded from the dinner table? It creates a permanent circus-like atmosphere that degrades the majesty and dignity of the monarchy, turning a sacred British institution into a trashy, Hollywood-style reality show. William has made it abundantly clear to the palace hierarchy that he will not participate in this circus under any circumstances, and if the palace refuses to stand up to Harry, William will take matters into his own hands. The sheer cold-blooded strategy behind the Sussex PR machine was laid completely bare when details of how the news of their return was leaked to the media finally emerged. This wasn't a case of aggressive investigative journalism breaking a hidden story. This was a pre-packaged, carefully orchestrated PR operation designed to manipulate public perception and put maximum pressure on the palace. Two major British national newspapers published the exact same story on the exact same night within the exact same hour, featuring identical quotes, identical phrasing, and identical bullet points, with both brazenly claiming it as a world exclusive. Anyone who understands how Fleet Street works knows that isn't journalism. That is a mass press release sent out from a public relations firm's mailing list. But the most telling, calculated detail of the entire operation was pointed out by veteran royal reporter Robert Jobson. Out of all the major newspapers in Britain, one specific publication was intentionally left off the distribution list, the Daily Mail. Why? Because the Daily Mail is the exact publication that had just beaten Prince Harry in a massive, high-profile court battle, leaving Harry facing a crushing legal bill that threatens to wipe out what's left of his personal fortune. Leaving them off the press release wasn't an accident. It was a petty, vengeful move by a couple who handle the press like a personal weapon, rewarding outlets that write positive spin and attempting to punish outlets that hold them accountable. The trade-off offered to the friendly papers was crystal clear. Print our glowing narrative about a tearful, loving family homecoming right now, and in exchange you get the exclusive first photos when our plane lands at Heathrow, the first pictures of the kids walking in Windsor, and the first shot of the moving vans arriving at our new estate. Those photographs are worth hundreds of thousands of dollars to photo agencies and tabloids, and Harry and Meghan are using them as currency to buy positive coverage advance spin. They are trying to manufacture a warm public mood before they even touch down, knowing full well that the reality on the ground is pure hatred and hostility. But the British public isn't stupid. People see right through the planted stories, the fake exclusives, and the calculated leaks. They know that this isn't a story about a prince coming home out of love for his country. It's a story about a desperate couple placing a media operation to save their own skin after their American enterprise collapsed into total ruin. The devastating impact this forced return is having on Prince William and Catherine's personal lives cannot be overstated, and it is the primary reason William has drawn an absolute line in the sand. For the past 6 years, the Wales family has been the rock holding the monarchy together through unimaginable loss, public transitions, and severe health crises. Catherine has shown a level of resilience, poise, and grace that has earned her the deep love and respect of millions around the globe. Yet, while she was quietly dealing with the most terrifying health battle of her life behind closed doors, she was subjected to a continuous barrage of bizarre internet conspiracy theories, online harassment, and hostile narratives, much of it fueled and amplified by the toxic fan base that Harry and Meghan built through their public attacks on the family. Insiders close to the Wales camp reveal that nobody in their household has forgotten the psychological damage inflicted by the Sussexes' Oprah interview, the Netflix series, and Harry's memoir, which directly targeted Catherine, painting her as cold, unwelcoming, and rigid. Moving Harry and Meghan back to Windsor, right into the heart of Catherine's personal space while she is still recovering and trying to protect her 3 young children, is viewed by William as an unspeakable act of cruelty. William's priority above all else, above the monarchy, above the press, and above his brother, is the safety and peace of his wife and children. He knows that having the Sussexes nearby means constant anxiety, constant leaks about their private interactions, and the constant threat that a casual conversation in the garden could wind up in the next volume of Harry's memoirs or a future podcast episode. William is utterly determined to shield Catherine from this toxic weather system. Reports suggest that William has explicitly told his father that if Harry and Meghan are given a residence on the Windsor estate, William, Catherine, and their children will pack up and stay away from Windsor entirely, refusing to live under the shadow of a rival court. William is giving the palace a choice: protect the dedicated, working future king and queen of the country, or indulge the selfish demands of a renegade prince who traded his loyalty for Hollywood money and only came crawling back when the checks started bouncing. As the days tick down toward the end of the month, the tension across the entire nation is reaching an absolute fever pitch, with every eye fixed firmly on the runway at Heathrow and the gates of Buckingham Palace. The narrative that Harry and Meghan's team is desperately trying to push in American media, that this return is a selfless mercy mission to support a sick king and bring the family together, is falling apart at the seams under the slightest bit of critical scrutiny. Where was this intense desire to support the family when Prince Philip was lying on his deathbed in the hospital, while Harry and Meghan were sitting down with Oprah Winfrey to launch nuclear accusations against the monarchy? Where was this profound family loyalty when the late Queen Elizabeth was spending her final fragile months in severe pain at Balmoral, while the Sussexes were putting the finishing touches on a 6-part Netflix series designed to tear down her life's work? The receipts are long, detailed, and utterly unforgivable, and neither Prince William nor the British public has forgotten a single line. The sheer hypocrisy of Harry and Meghan claiming they need to return to Britain for the safety and well-being of their children after spending 6 years claiming the UK was a dangerous, racist, press-obsessed nightmare is an insult to the intelligence of the entire nation. If Britain was really the toxic hellhole they described in their books and documentaries, why on earth would any loving parent pack up their children and move them directly back into the center of it? The answer is so obvious that even their most brainwashed defenders are struggling to spin it. It was never true. It was all a grand, exaggerated, highly lucrative victim narrative designed to make them millions in Hollywood, and now that the money has dried up and the Hollywood studio bosses have thrown them out, they are casually dropping the victim act and running back to the very institution they tried to destroy. But they are flying back into a country that has completely changed, a country that has moved on, and a country that has zero patience left for their dramatic theatrics. The stage is officially set for the most brutal, high-stakes royal showdown in modern history, as Prince William prepares to take his final stand to protect his family, defend the crown, and permanently shut the door on the most toxic chapter the royal family has ever endured. The ultimate nightmare scenario that is currently keeping senior palace officials awake at 3 in the morning is the terrifying prospect of total institutional paralysis, where the authority of the crown is permanently fractured by the presence of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle on British soil. Media commentators across the political spectrum are raising the alarm that allowing the Sussexes to return without strict, legally binding restrictions will instantly turn the British monarchy into a global laughingstock and destroy public respect for the throne. Renowned royal experts like Robert Jobson have warned that if King Charles folds to Harry's emotional leverage and grants them official housing, security, or semi-regular royal access, the public will view the monarchy as weak, compromised, and incapable of defending its own principles. People are already declaring on live television that they will find it impossible to respect the reign of Charles if he allows 2 individuals who betrayed their country and their birthright to walk back into the fold on their own self-serving terms. The outrage is so deep that commentators are openly speculating about the future of the succession, with some pundits foolishly suggesting that the chaos could spark a massive constitutional debate over how the monarchy governs itself in the 21st century. But while the talking heads on television debate the legalities and constitutional theories, Prince William is focusing on the cold, hard realities of power. William knows that the monarchy does not belong to Harry, it does not belong to Meghan, and it doesn't even belong to King Charles. It belongs to the British people, and its survival relies entirely on trust, dignity, and unwavering service. The Prince of Wales is fully aware that the vast majority of the public is standing firmly behind him, begging him to hold the line and prevent the Sussexes from dragging the royal family through the mud once again. When thousands of people across the country leave identical comments under news broadcasts stating 3 simple words, "William stands strong," it isn't just a casual internet trend. It is a national mandate. The public is looking to William to be the leader that the moment demands, to be the shield that protects Catherine and their children, and to be the iron force that ensures the legacy of Queen Elizabeth II is not sold off for cheap publicity. As the moving vans pack up in Montecito and the flight plans are finalized for London, Prince William is preparing his ultimate response, an uncompromising strategy that will prove once and for all that you cannot attack the crown, profit off its betrayal, and expect to walk back through the palace doors as if nothing ever happened.